Hello class, Mr. Garino here. In this video I'm going to show you how to take your stick figure animation, or how to make a stick figure animation and use embedded symbols to make it even better than the previous one we did, which the one I did was a couple of stick figures kicking and heading a soccer ball into a goal. So if you wanted to do something more advanced, and rather you probably should do something more advanced than what I did. If you do it more advanced and better just using the simple methods that I previously illustrated, that's fine. But I think it's better to actually use what I'm about to show you. So I called the previous one without embedded symbols. That's the simple way. The better way, or more complex way, or make a more engaging animation would be to use embedded symbols. So this student Daniel had made this volleyball animation. So I would think like this would be the ultimate goal. In my opinion, it's one of the best stick figure animations I've seen in my classes over the years. So we got some ball coming down, a guy hits it up, another guy hits it up again, this guy fakes the spike, and the other guy, although he doesn't have his arm move up and hit it, he actually does the spike. Okay, so that's his animation. Looks pretty simple, but this guy is stick 3. And if you notice, stick 3 doesn't move, but then he's got a tween. But his tween is just a movement. It's just a movement in, up, and down. All that arm movement and all that leg movement is built into him. So if we want to see that, if we go to stick 3, he's got these graphic symbols. Stick 3, when I double click, he's got that all embedded inside of him. So for the first 20 frames, he does nothing. At frame 21, his stick figure guy changes to this. And then at frame 29, he does that whole sort of walk cycle. So you can tell that this student spent a lot of time on his stick figure putting all that in. And then he lines that up. If you go back to scene 1, he lines that up with, you'll notice at frame 28, that's when he does his underhand hit, and on this one it's frame 28. So then at frame 29 is the underhand hit, right? So he stays, he goes for the underhand hit at frame 21, and then at frame 29 it's shaped like that, and then he does the run. So over here, stick 3 doesn't move. At frame 21, he's doing the underhand hit, and then at frame 28 is where he begins that run thing. Okay, but in this animation part here, the main scene, scene 1, all he's really got is a tween going over, up, and down of this stick figure. This stick figure's got built into him, what I showed you before, all this other motion, and then you line it up with the motions in scene 1. Likewise, he had stick figure, what's this guy? This guy is stick 2. Luckily he put the names of the stick figures on the layers so we could tell which one we're talking about. So this guy doesn't move at all from frame 1 to frame 50, and then he does this little thing. So he just slides back. That's his animation here. This tween is the moving back. But the built-in part, if we double click on stick 2, oops, thought it was stick 2. Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe it's stick 2A. Okay, he tricked us. So stick 2A has just that little built into him. But notice he doesn't move left to right. That's just the built-in up, down, leg, and arm movement. Okay? To get him to move from left to right, you have to put in a tween. So the motion's embedded in him, the arm and leg stuff is embedded in him, and then the motion tween makes him move from, well, right to left, I should say, not left to right. Okay, so this is like sort of the ultimate goal. This took a lot of time to do, a lot of time to sync up right, a lot of time to get it to work, and it's not even really totally done until you add sound, which he didn't do because he probably wanted to work on something else at that point. Okay, so that's the goal. So how do we go about getting there? Well, I have some examples. So we have the student Julio made this little frame by frame animation. Okay, just guy jumps up and down. And we have another student called Jose. He made this animation of a guy running, but he's not going anywhere, right? He's just doing the run cycle. Okay, if you ever see games like Flappy Bird, when a bird flies across the screen, what's he do? He flaps his wings. So embedded into the bird symbol is wings flapping. Then you just move him around the screen. Okay, with a game you control him with action script code, but as he moves around the screen, his wings are always flapping. So this guy, as he runs across the screen, his legs are always doing the run thing over here. Okay, and then I think I had another one. And so Amelia, she has this thing move across the screen, but if you notice, her arms and legs move. That's not part of the motion tween. The motion tween is just this right here, left to right. So of course, if I double click on her symbol, you'll see embedded into it without moving left to right is just that. Okay, she's got it jiggled a little bit. I don't think she meant to do that, but you see the arms and the legs moving. So that's what's embedded in. To go back to the main animation, click scene 1, and here you are. Okay, so let's go to Jose's and show how you do that. So if I want to make him run across the screen, what I do is we embed a symbol. So what I want to do is get all these frames and embed it in a new symbol. So I'm going to make sure I click away so that I can click in one shot and hold down and drag across to select them all. Then I right click and say copy frames. Then I go up to insert, new symbol. I'm going to call it runner, and I'm going to use a graphic symbol, and in a minute I'll explain why we use graphic symbols for animations. Say OK, then right click here and say paste frames, and then go out of the runner symbol back to scene 1. Okay, so I still have just static guy right here. He just moves his arms and legs, it doesn't go anywhere. But now I have a symbol called runner that has that built into him. I'm going to make a new layer, and on that layer I'm going to drag the runner symbol. Okay, I wish I had a little more room because he's going to go over the other guy, but I don't feel like wasting time moving all of these frames down one at a time. So he's going to go over them. And right now, what's he do? He just stands there without moving. If I want this guy to move across the screen, I have to move, like I did in the other video, all the different pieces at one time, which you can group them and move them and stuff like that, and then reposition them and do whatever you want. But it's much easier to put it all into one symbol. So now all I have to do is right click in this layer, right click, say create motion tween, put the playhead in the beginning, he's over on the right, and at the end I'll just take him and move him over to the left. So now he moves across the screen as he runs. I don't want to go over Jose's animation, so let me do a save as and just put a Mr. G in front of Jose, so we know this is the one I modified. So when I play it, you'll see he runs across the screen as his arms and legs go up and down. A little hard to see. Maybe we'll make this 6 frames per second instead of 24. Okay, so he runs across the screen. So he's doing the run cycle, but he's moving across the screen as the run cycle continues to play inside his embedded animation. And that's how the student Daniel did all of this stuff. These things have embedded, lots of times frame by frame animations. You can have an embedded motion tween. You can do a motion tween on a symbol and then embed that symbol into another animation and make it move around the screen. It doesn't have to be frame by frame. And the last thing I want to show you is why. Why do we use a graphic symbol? Well, here's my embed test finished. Up here I have a graphic symbol. Over here I have a movie clip symbol. Over here I have no symbol, just the drawn frames. So that's the bottom layer right here. So we have a graphic symbol here, movie clip symbol here, without the tweens. So these two right here, no tweens on them, so they just stay stationary. These two over here have the tweens. So this one and this one have the tweens on them, these don't. So these do the same thing as that, as this one, that's all different pieces. But these are symbols, so they're all in one shot. They're all together, all the pieces. Okay? When I drag this across the screen, if you look at the graphic symbols, you'll see the arms and legs move. If you look at the movie clip symbols, you don't see the arms and legs move. So it's almost like it didn't work. However, if I play the animation with Control Enter, you'll see that all the legs and arms are indeed moving. So graphic symbol or movie clip symbol work the same when you embed them as far as in the finished product. However, when you're previewing your animation right here on the timeline, you don't get to see the arms and legs move. So it makes it hard to sync up the movements with other things, like trying to make this guy move and seeing where he should hit the ball. It's not going to work right because you're not going to see all that until you play it. So you're going to have to play it, then go back and adjust it, and then play it and go back and adjust it. So the question is, why would anybody in the world then use a movie clip symbol? Well, there's a good reason for it. A movie clip symbol, when I click on it, if I come up here to properties, it says instance name. So I can give it a name. When you name something in Flash, you can then control it with the underlying programming language that makes Flash work, which is called ActionScript. So in an animation, you almost never really want to do that. So we use graphic symbols because it's much easier to link things up or sync things up with other things moving on the screen. The reason why you would use a movie clip symbol is if you were doing something like making a video game. Because to control this thing with ActionScript, it has to have a name. So you can put in a name over here, an instance name. Watch what happens when I click on a graphic symbol. You don't get the name box. Okay, so graphic symbols you cannot control with ActionScript. So that's why when you make an animation, you almost always want to use a graphic symbol. When you make a video game, you almost always want to use a movie clip symbol. I guess if there was some animation where you wanted to do some funky programming code to one of your animated symbols, you would have to make it a movie clip symbol, and vice versa. In a game, if you had some animation going on that you knew you were never going to want to control with ActionScript code, then I guess you could make it a graphic symbol there. But for the most part, rule of thumb, animations use graphic symbols, video games use movie clip symbols. Okay, so take your stick figure animation, make your graphic symbols, embed them so you can make something like this really, really good to impress me and also your fellow students and the world when you put this on your website and we add it to my website, Garena Land. This way everybody can see something that's really, really cool. Thank you.